So good morning. Thank you very much for tuning into this webinar, the first of a series of 3 that we're going to be holding over the next 3 months. Just so you know, we're going to be recording the session just for the benefit of those who can't join us live, so please do not swear. I'm Max Finlay from Escon Solutions, and I'll be delighted to be joined by Guy Burton from iPlicit, who will be doing all the hard work this morning. Given that it's bonfire night, it's quite appropriate that we have Guy helping us, and hopefully he'll be setting off a few fireworks as we go along this morning. We're going to aim for maybe a 45-minute session, so hopefully not too long. So, but hopefully you'll find it enjoyable. For those of you who are maybe a little bit unfamiliar with iPlicit, it's very much the rising star in the financial systems market for mid-sized organizations, with the company doubling in size every year since it first came to market in 2019. Escon Solutions are now 18 months-ish into the partnership with iPlicit, and it's certainly been quite a whirlwind year and a half, with a number of customers already making the journey onto iPlicit with us. With a few now live and reaping the benefits that the system offers. As an organization, and I'm not just saying this because Guy's on the call, iPlicit are a fantastic company to work with. They have the same values and customer sort of focus as Escon does, which means that combine that with a great product, then it's makes for a wonderful partnership and a great customer experience, we certainly find. So we held a webinar earlier this year, and during which we looked at the AP automation part of iPlicit, and we see this as a real key area within any financial system. So we thought it'd be worth expanding what we looked at in February to look at the whole procure to pay process, all the way from supplier creation through to payment runs, but obviously looking at POs, requisitions, and AP automation along the way. But why do we see the P2P or the procure to pay process is so important for businesses? We see it as the way that if they're centralizing the procurement and payment activities, it improves control, efficiency, and visibility across the organizations. And those three words are very, very key. So it takes the control back a stage, back to where before the liability for the purchase has actually been made and incurred. So it ensures that everything is being purchased is required, approved, and is being bought from the right supplier at the right price. Everyone will have heard of the term maverick spend, and that's exactly what is controlled and removed by the implementation of a P2B process, because it avoids the casual purchasing of the same product from different suppliers at different prices, and in some cases where the item is not actually required in the first place. The efficiency of the process comes from the use of inbuilt workflows and streamlining the workflows, automating approvals, and ensuring that there's no duplication of entry into the system. And with those, that efficiency reduces delays and enhances the compliance of the system as well. And obviously, with the increased control and efficiencies come reduced costs, increased profits, something that's obviously very attractive to businesses, particularly nowadays. From a visibility point of view, it provides the stakeholders of a business with that visibility, allowing them to track the process of a procurement or a purchase without delving into email trails, etc. And then obviously a further knock-on benefit is supplier relationships. The relationships with suppliers can be much improved by timely payments and better communication. So all in all, there's so many benefits to having an effective P2P process within your finance system. And we hear from customers all the time, and I'm sure Guy would be the same, with their pain points around the procure to pay process. And those pains will just get sorer as organizations grow. So it's important that it's addressed as soon as possible. The iPlicit P2P process, or part of the product, is part of the core system, and it can control the efficiencies the companies are looking for, particularly with the inbuilt workflows that I mentioned earlier on. Furthermore, with AI, the AP automation process is made much more effective by allowing the invoices to come in and be read automatically and posted into the system without any or minimal human intervention. And Guy will cover that as well. And with the reporting, the inquiry and dashboarding capability within iPlicit as well, then the visibility is there for all the stakeholders. So all the three keyword boxes that I mentioned before are all ticked with iPlicit, and we'll hopefully cover those as we go through today. But like all the other webinars we've done, we really just will be tickling the surface of the system. But hopefully it'll give you an insight into the power and the capabilities of the application. But we'd be happy to do a further session, more detailed session with any of you at any point, and we'll send out our contact details after the session just to let you know how we can get in touch. But please feel free to get in touch with us at any time. Time allowing, we'll take some questions at the end, so feel free to type into the text box as we go through, and we'll either cover them as we go through, I'll keep an eye on them, or we'll cover them at the end. And anybody who, any questions that we don't have time for, then we can take them back and we can distribute the responses by email afterwards. However, without further ado, I'll pass over to Mr. Fox himself, and he'll let you see the iPlicit in action. So, Guy, over to you, and hopefully everyone gets a maximum benefit out of the session.
Guy and Max, there you go. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Max. It's a brilliant introduction. So I'm going to take you through our Procure to Pay process and all things Procure to Pay inside iPlicit. I'm just going to draw out some of the reasons why customers tend to choose iPlicit, the feedback we get from customers, why they like our Procure to Pay process, along with other things outside of iPlicit. And as Max said, if you've got questions as we go through, feel free to stick them into the Q&A session in here as well, and I'll do my best to answer them as well as we go through. And so to begin with, dashboards is a way of visually representing information in your purchase ledger. So we have extensive dashboards across iPlicit. They're all live. An important thing for us is that we are a finance system with Procure to Pay as part of the finance team's assessment, but also with the ability to have team users and non-finance team members, the budget holders, the people who need to raise requisitions, people need to manage maybe specific sets of suppliers, maybe. Having all of that access to information with the ability to get their own dashboards, with the ability to export dashboards, to drill down into information from dashboards and that type of thing, and also to see dashboards on different sort of interactive ways as well. So see it by company, see it by supplier, that type of thing. And maybe I might see the same dashboard as Max, but I get to see my suppliers as opposed to seeing the entire organisation suppliers. So we're very conscious in iPlicit about control and making sure that we only make visible to those end users and to members of the finance team as well, the right information at the right points in time as well. And so dashboards is one way of presenting information. If we go and have a look at our supplier ledger, onboarding suppliers is always important. So we've got the facility to onboard suppliers, but we have, when we were developing iPlicit, we wanted workflow, but not just around workflow around procuring a document, not just around authorizing an invoice, that type of thing. Our workflows sit across the entire system, so they can sit across onboarding new suppliers. When I set up a new supplier, some people will have the ability to set up new suppliers, some people won't have the ability. They can request that information to be done from a central point of view. As that onboarding of a supplier goes through, we can also track the information to that particular supplier as well. So we'll have all their different contact details. It was important for us to be able to have an unlimited amount of contacts against a particular supplier, so that when we send out communications, whether it's sending out purchase orders or remittances or payment advices, that type of thing, who gets that within the organisation. POs need to go to this department, remittances need to go to another department, that type of thing, to be able to manage all of that centrally. And everyone to be able to have access to that information, so they can view that from a visibility point of view. They can click on phone numbers to call people. They can click on email addresses to email people out. We're also going to store that information as well, alongside additional information you might want to track against your supplier records. such as SIC details, VAT information, that type of thing. But you might also have additional information you wanted to store against those suppliers. So the way, again, that we've designed iPlicit is you can have suppliers, and you can do everything I do in the purchase ledger, I can also do in the sales ledger as well. So you can put suppliers into different groups and categories, and I can use that to make them visible. There may be some information we need from these particular suppliers that might be in addition to a normal supplier. So you also have the ability to store what we call custom fields. So you can store additional data points against those suppliers and use that for filtering, for referencing, and also for reporting, which is massively important to us as well. When we're setting up suppliers and we allocate them, you might have suppliers overseas, so they might be managing. We might need to manage different currencies. One other common thing, or one other popular thing, is we have our sales and purchase ledgers are full multi-currency. So I can have on a particular supplier invoices in euros, invoices in sterling, invoices in dollars, all part of one central supplier account, and iPlicit will manage all of your FX gains and losses and things like that when we decide to pay those suppliers as well. But to be able to allocate those out maybe to different account managers, different departments, different cost centers that you might have, different of the dimensional analysis that we've got inside iPlicit. But as part of that evidence of control, we also, you might notice there's a log tab. We keep log tabs against everything in iPlicit, every record in iPlicit, whether it's a customer or supplier record, whether it's a transaction, whether it's a legal entity. And all of that information is where we keep our audit trails in there as well. So who's created that supplier, who's approved that supplier, who's edited that supplier, who's updated information on that supplier, all gets logged against that from an audit, and we have detailed audit reports and things like that. So if you need to evidence that information. And one thing that came really early on was obviously we're going to pay these suppliers at some point in time, all things being equal. So the ability to hold bank account information. Now, some users, we don't want, from a security point of view, them to have access to these particular screens. So you can define, usually by a role or a group of users, what those users have access to and what they have the ability to view, and also more importantly, what they have that ability to edit. And so some users, Max might log in and not even see bank account details in the supplier because he just needs to be able to see the documents that relate into that supplier perhaps. But in this case, if I wanted to make a change to a supplier bank account, and we're obviously very conscious about security, fraud and things like that. So our workflows, like I said, can sit across lots of things within inside iPlicit. So although it's allowed me to add a new bank account onto that supplier, our authorization workflows that we'll look at in a lot more detail as we go through the procurement process itself. So we can have workflows around the different steps and stages that you might have regarding approvals. If it's less than 50 quid, it needs one approver. If it's more than 50 grand, it needs two approvers. It needs to go to a board member to be signed off and things like that. So you've got the ability, and this was always important to our iPlicit customers, is that we want to give you the control and the ability to be able to manage, create your own steps in your workflow. And as you change and evolve in an organization or as an organization, if you need to add more rules, add more controls within a workflow, you should be able to do that nice and quickly and easily and simply, and hopefully in a nice and controlled manner, so that again, as your requirements evolve over time, because we want you to be using iPlicit for long periods of time, we want you to be able to manage that yourselves as well in a nice and simple and intuitive fashion. So I've also got workflows. You might have noticed when I changed that bank account, it turned it into orange. So we have these little sort of tick boxes to highlight different stages of a workflow and where that particular record is within that workflow. So I might have changed that bank account, but Max might have got a communication from iPlicit, a message. He might have got a notification out to his phone. The guy's changed his bank account details. And until Max approves those, or whoever is going to approve those particular that particular authority, we won't use those bank account amended details on a payment run until those transactions have been approved. And also from an audit trail point of view, we'll have logged that detail against that record. And from a central control point of view, we also have things like inquiries or reports, on-screen reports, if you think of it like that, where we can go through and see, right, these are duplicate bank accounts you've maybe got against your supplier ledger. You might want to know, we've got the auditors in, so we need to go through and prove to the auditors what information we've changed on a record. These are just examples, inquiries to show you, but to see that information, to get to that nice and quickly and easily, is a real positive feedback we get from the customers to be able to get to that information, to evidence those controls. And they may be really simple because that's all you need, but as you expand and change and evolve as an organization, you might want to hold different information as well. So holding that information, being able to workflow that information, but also I need to see the documents on that supplier. So we've got nice little tick boxes. I can see all documents. I can see just outstanding documents. You can click on headings within any of those inquiry screens to be able to sort and filter information. I just wanted to look for, if I could type in something right, a particular description. You can search in any of the columns in our inquiries. You can also, if you click on the little cog in the corner of the screen, add more columns or remove columns that aren't relevant to you in that particular inquiry. So we want people to be able to get to information quickly and easily. I'm just interested on this supplier on any invoice that was more than £50,000. And in all of our inquiry screens, however you've got the information laid out on the screen, you will always be able to, if you need to, export that information into a spreadsheet should you want to, and take that information out, or drill into that information as well. So any of that information is also available. Let's just see that. And so if I wanted to check on a particular invoice, if I wanted to check on a particular document, you've always got the ability to see notes that might have happened on that particular document, and the ability to get to that information at any point in time, along with being able to drill into data, see that information, and track who's created it, where that information's gone, see log files around it and things like that. As well as the ability to store attachments against documents as well, which is always important, but we'll come on to that as we go through. So having that information in nice lists is great, but we also can pivot that data into our little pivot tables. So these are, again, a common area of iPlicit where I can go into that information and I can see that data in any way, shape or form. And it doesn't matter which particular supplier, which particular organization. Maybe I wanted to filter that data by one of our legal entities. For those of you who've got multiple companies, maybe I'm a budget holder. I want to see that particular supplier because I've got a conversation with them, got a meeting with them, see the latest invoices, see what's outstanding, drill into that information. And the users have the ability to drill down into data where we give them those permissions. So I can see those invoices. I can know straight away that we've paid that supplier, or we're waiting to do a payment run because we like to watermark all the documents and all the transactions as well as log those details. So that makes it more accessible to the non-finance users, so they don't need to ring up the finance team and find out, have we paid that supplier before I speak to them. And the ability to store those additional documents and any other transaction that you've got against that supplier. So if I've got an email, if I've got a spreadsheet that I need to go through and stick against that particular order, or a quote against a document, all of that document management happens as part of iPlicit as well. So you can add different external reports and documents, whatever they are, whether they're PDF files, Excel spreadsheets. I can drag and drop an email out of Outlook and to hold that against different records as well. That also puts all of that information in one central place. So because iPlicit is a cloud-based system, that means any of your users, whether they're team members working from home, working remotely, working from different locations, can access iPlicit from a web browser without having to have any software installed physically on their machines or laptops or whatever they're using, or even mobile phones. So that's what we do in terms of supplier management. You've also got the ability to view your suppliers in different ways as well. So you can create your own groups, you can create your own filters. We want you to be able to do all of that information as well. So you can filter the information in ways that are meaningful to you. And we're also conscious of making and exposing the right things to the right sets of people at the right points in time as well. So when I go and look at, for example, my purchase invoices, maybe I'm one of your team members and I can only see my purchase invoices. I can't see Kay's purchase invoices or Mac's purchase invoices or anyone else's purchase invoices. So we're also conscious in terms of exposing the right documents, the right pieces of information, the right budgets, financial detail, that type of thing to the right sets of people at the right point in time. And that goes for creating transactions in iPlicit as well. So when we're creating transactions in iPlicit, The way that we've designed the software, you can obviously in our purchase ledger store purchase invoices. You can enter them directly, and I'll show you different ways that we use AP automation, which is scanning essentially in the cloud to do that. You can also create other document flows in here as well. So you may want to raise purchase orders. You may want some people to be able to raise purchase requisitions. Those purchase requisitions might flow through an approval process and turn into POs and then turn into good receipts notes. And we want you to be able to control those flows of documents and have your own what we call different document types. So our different document types allow us to then define on a particular document. So let's take a look at this purchase order. In our document types, you've got nice controls in here where you can then decide the flows of the documents. This purchase order might flow from these types of requisitions. This purchase order might flow into a goods received note, or it might be matched to these POs, or I might need to be able to write that off to a different document. So having that control means that you don't have to have a one-size-fits-all process around your AP processes at all. You can have different flows, different workflows, and different document flows for the different types of users and the different types of transactions that you might need to enter into the system as well. And in terms of entering information into the system, those team users, the non-finance users you've got across the organization, they have the ability to access iPlicit from any browser or from the mobile app, and they can raise their own purchase orders. They can raise their requisitions. And when we raise a document, if I click on new, let's start with a brand new purchase order to begin with. I can see the types of purchase order that my user is allowed to see. Now, some users might only be able to raise one type of purchase order because they work in this particular area of the organization, and that's all we need to do. You might have users who want to raise information and they're doing things on a regular basis. So as well as being able to copy and view any of my historic POs, because remember, this might be showing my purchase orders rather than everyone's purchase orders, you'll always have the ability to copy previous documents, but you can also create template documents in iPlicit as well. So if there's regular orders that I'm trying to make or need to make, you can have those already set up. And then you can have those already with the different products, the different nominal codes, the different analysis levels. So all I need to do now is tweak, maybe change some pricing information, because we're picking up pricing information from our standard product prices that we can hold with inside iPlicit as well. And as raising that document goes, you might decide that actually before our end users raise that type of order or that type of requisition, we want to capture some mandatory information, or we want to make some of that information mandatory and making sure we're capturing all of that data in there as well. So you can put fields and flags onto documents to make fields mandatory, so I can't process this information. We might want to make sure that they've attached different copies of documents to it. So I want to make sure that they attach a quote. Let's just pretend that's a quote. Add that document to it. We could be asking them before they submit that through our workflows that they've attached the right pieces of information. So we're collating that. So it saves the finance team having to go and chase information over time as well. We can also arrange series of defaults. We can also have additional, again, custom fields against those different transaction types in there as well. But as that transaction goes through, I can raise or start creating that transaction and save it as a draft transaction and come back to it later on, or I can submit it. And when I click on submit, that's when iPlicit's workflow engine is constantly looking for things to be able to navigate and pass through that workflow. So it will have created that transaction, but you might see this column down the side that I've got here. I can see which transactions are waiting to be approved, which ones have been approved, which ones have been abandoned, matched, all that type of thing, and closed off. So you've got that visibility so we know where we are. As me submitting that transaction, then three things would have happened automatically. Max or Kay might have got a notification from iPlicit to say there's a purchase order for you to be approved. They might also have got an email request from iPlicit. So we send out emails so they can automatically, so they'll get that. They don't need to be in iPlicit all the time. They also might get notification to one of our mobile apps as well. So they can approve things. The idea is to be able to approve things on whatever the devices you've got in front of you, which is basically convenient for you. We find that that works really nicely. Saying that, what we can also do, you don't have to tell the rest of the organization this as well. You can also get iPlicit to send them reminders. So after 24 hours or 72 hours, if they haven't approved that thing, we send them chasing reminders and things like that in there as well. So you might want to keep that to yourself it might be part of the finance system you don't want to turn off. But as that transaction gets approved, and when we go through our approval levels, we can do approvals on the entire document. We can also do approvals on at line level as well. So if I've got an invoice that needs to be approved by 2 different department heads, it might send one line out to Department Manager A and one line out to Department Manager B. So again, you've got that sort of control and evidence as well. All of which is again automatically audit trailed against the transaction. And when that gets approved, iPlicit will also go out, and depending on your preferences in terms of what form do we, what type of format do we send out our POs, we might be sending out, or iPlicit might be sending out those POs automatically out to those different suppliers as well for us, depending if we've got that set up on that supplier, if we want to send them those POs, or in that case, I didn't because I haven't got one set up. As that goes through, the finance team get full oversight. So I'll be a finance user now, so I've got full oversight of all of the POs that we've got in the system. As that PO goes through and we evidence that, and we might turn that PO into, let me just submit this one. We might turn that PO into a goods received note. We might have that PO being matched through to an invoice. And again, that will depend on how the workflows we set up around those different documents decide to go. So we can turn those into GRNs, or we can do it the other way around, where I say I'm ready to do a GRN, and we can receive GRNs, receipt that on amounts or quantities. So again, you can set that against different suppliers, for example, the different services you might be getting from those particular suppliers, and then make it simple for the team to go through and then decide on, from an availability point of view, which documents, which outstanding lines essentially from those POs are we then going to match into this. So I can do consolidated matching. So I can have one GRN that matches against 3 or 4 POs. I can have one PO that's matched against multiple GRNs as well, if I'm receipting something over time as well. And iPlicit gives you full visibility and control, and also the ability to be able to, it knows what documents it was matched against. So it knows that this document was matched against this PO. It knows this PO was matched against these GRNs. It knows that GRN was matched to these invoices. So we always link everything together as those documents go through our different workflows. Having these inquiries allows the finance team to be able to see information and view information across the procurement process. You can also, once those invoices and orders, once those orders and GRNs have been completed, the next step is for us to start matching that information when the invoices actually physically come in, which we can do manually, but most of our customers take advantage of our AP automation. AP automation is just a fancy cloud technology term for OCRing and scanning of invoices. So our customers get email addresses, and on those email addresses, you will give those email addresses to your suppliers, or you will forward invoices if I've had it sent through to me directly. And then what iPlicit will do, without me having to go to a photocopy or stick into a scanner or anything like that, it will take those attachments. So we received an invoice from Britannia Goods and Supplies, and iPlicit will have taken that invoice and it will have scanned that information. It will take that data, and then in this case, it's recognised that this invoice needs to be matched against a PO. So if I then go to my available column, it will then go and look through Britannia Innovations purchase ledger and look through POs or GRNs that will match that particular document, and then I can then confirm, yeah, those lines have been matched. You can also, again, from a consolidated point of view, if I need to match that against multiple documents, I can also go and view other documents. So I've got this invoice that's consolidated against multiple GRNs or multiple POs. You've got the ability to hold that. And again, as part of our keeping everything tidy point of view, at line level, we'll also track the matching process at that line level as well. So I can under and over allocate, but I can also see that this line on a GRN matched to this line on a PO that matched to this line on that invoice. There's nice control you can evidence throughout that process. What we can also do is a couple of other things. These are really popular with customers for your direct invoices, for invoices that we don't have going through our procurement process, but they're still part of our AP. So in this example, we've got an insurance invoice. which is fine. So again, iPlicit has scanned that insurance invoice in the cloud. So we use Azure's OCR and AI services. So it's AI, so it's the scanning is done automatically in the cloud, and it's always learning because it's being used across all of Azure's European customers. So all of that information is constantly learned. There's no training of the scanning at all like they were in historic systems. So you just get the AI to pull out the information, and then it goes off and maps that information onto the relevant points and parts within iPlicit. And in this case, the AI has identified that this is an insurance invoice. Not that clever, the AI, because it still needs me, the human, but it has recognized that this invoice might need prepaying. So again, as part of that onboarding process, so without me having to go back and manually track prepayments or do anything like that, I can nominate at line level on a transaction that this might need prepaying in a different way. It might need to prepay it over might be to a start of a project. It might be to prepay over the next 5 years because it's a contract. It might be it needs prepaying over English quarters. It might need prepaying over Scottish quarters. And you can decide, or I want to prorata that throughout the month. But I can do that at point of entry. That's the key thing. So the finance team can efficiently, as I'm entering that purchase invoice, iPlicit will then go through and build me a prepayment schedule against that invoice, work out all the prepayments, and it will take my 12 grand of insurance, post that to our prepayments account in the balance sheet, and then we have an automation engine within iPlicit that will then automatically create my prepayments and release those out of the balance sheet when I want to. So I can do that manually, or I can do that on a scheduled basis. So I might have on the second day of each month go and release all my prepayments for this month. You can drill into all of that information, but again, it's I could also pass that invoice through the procurement process as well. So that might go into the purchase ledger for authorization, and those automations also extend out not just around prepayments. It might be depreciation in our fixed asset register. It might be deferred income if you need to manage deferred income. It might be intercompany transactions. So automations are really important to us. It might be, because we're talking about procurement, I want iPlicit to generate me my accrual at the end of the month for all of my GRNs. I might want it to create an accrual for all of the purchase invoices that are in the system at month end, but haven't yet been approved, so they've not hit the GL. And then that's what these automations do. You can run these automations, it goes through, it will then go into our month end process, and then automatically, that's because that's why it's called an automation. It will automatically create me my accruals at month end. It will link, again, from an audit trail point of view, the accrual back to the original PO or GRN or invoice that was relating to it. And it will also automatically reverse that out on the first day of the next accounting period as well. So do all of that for me automatically. It will do the same for my prepayments. It will build you schedules of all that information as well, because I need to still evidence all of that information. So if I need to see a list of my prepayments at month end, and also maybe I want to see all of my list of pending prepayments as well. I want to do some planning information. I want to see what the accruals iPlicit has designed for me. So we're building what we call inquiry screens, and the inquiry screens can be built in different ways. So you'll see I've got different tabs. Maybe I wanted to see this by the different products that we're moving, the different projects that we're doing, the different recognition statuses, or in this case, the different suppliers. So I can see that, and because iPlicit knows the full lifespan of those prepayments, I can also plan into the future as well. So I'll have my prepayment schedules for however long we're prepaying information into the system automatically made for me. I can put these into Excel, I can run them as reports, I can even have iPlicit send me a report on a scheduled basis through our reporting scheduler as well. Having all of that information, so when I'm looking at, so we know we can raise all those different procurement transactions, we can see them by our supplier, but obviously we need to be able to manage our aged creditors, and we can put our aged creditors into different views. So this is, and again, another inquiry, and this inquiry where I can look at the same information on these different tabs, but the different information is going to be shown in different ways. So maybe I wanted to see creditors by our different classifications. Maybe I wanted to do it, see it by our different supplier groups, or we have unlimited control accounts in the debtors and creditors ledgers. So I want to see everything by the different control accounts. You might be an organization that has multiple companies within it. So I want to see our creditors by the different entities that we've got within the group. So you've now got live consolidated sales and purchase ledger information across the organizations as well. And the key thing to us from any of these inquiry screens is the ability. So if I click on that 12 grand, iPlicit will then go and get all of the transactions that make up that £12,000. I can then drill down into that information, see how it's been posted to this general ledger, see if it's been paid. So that self-service is really important to us, and the ability to track that information simply and easily. You can search or filter any of our inquiries in lots of different ways. Maybe I'm only interested in suppliers for, or creditors, should I say, for a particular entity in the group. Maybe I'm just looking at it for a typical group of suppliers, a different classification, a different cost center department, different currency. All of that information allows you to simply and easily, together with the ability to drill into that information, filter that in a nice and simple, quick, easy way, and fast, hopefully. So we've raised requisitions and POs and GRNs, and we've authorized them and approved them and gone through and matched them. We're now ready to start pay. Excuse me. We're now starting ready to pay those suppliers. So we can pay suppliers individually, or more commonly, and we have some nice workflows around these as well. So I want to raise a payment run. You can template these up as well. So I want to pay this set of suppliers, so it's nice and simple for me to do these payment runs. Maybe I wanted to filter those payment runs by a certain set of suppliers. Go and get suppliers in a different particular classification. You might want to pull min max values on the supplier. You might have mandatory information that you want to put through. You might be doing a payment. It's Wednesday today, the 5th of November. I might want to do this payment run, but I want to iPlicit to go and get me all of the invoices. I know this run isn't going to go through to the bank until Thursday, or maybe even next Monday. So iPlicit, go and get me all of the invoices with a due date by next Monday, so I can include those in that run. I'm not having to reinvent the wheel. And there's 3 tabs to our payment runs to make it nice and simple. You choose the criteria that you want it to go and look through the purchase ledger, and then in our allocations tab, iPlicit will simply go off and get all of those transactions. You can view those transactions in different ways. You can drill into particular individual accounts. I could say I just want to pay everyone in between 60 and 90 days, and it will go and get all of those transactions. Maybe I wanted to pay that one. Maybe I wanted to pay the entire lot. I could go to an individual supplier and say I want to pay that one and that one. You can see messages. You can put individual transactions. You can put entire suppliers on hold should you need to, and then iPlicit will exclude those out of the payment runs. You might find, if I can go and find one, iPlicit telling you, well, I found this supplier, I found this invoice, but you can't pay it. And this might be in this case because I've asked for a backs run, and iPlicit said, all right, you can. We've got this invoice against this supplier, but I haven't got their backs details, or it might be a case of that bank account has changed and hasn't been approved yet, so I'm not going to pay that. It might be the supplier's on stop, so I'm not allowing you to pay that particular supplier. You might say that I want to pay that invoice, but I'm expecting a credit note, so I only want to pay £13,000 of that. So you've got some nice control in terms of how and when you're going to pay your suppliers. That same ability to save these as draft, that same ability to submit these through our workflows as well. More and more of our customers are wanting payment approval workflows to happen through the purchase ledger and happen through our payment processing. So again, as part of those authorization workflows that we looked at right at the very beginning, we've got that against our payment runs as well. So I've created that payment run, but I can't approve it. Max, again, might have got an email from iPlicit to say, can you approve this payment run? When he does this, he could do this on his mobile phone if he wanted to, view it through iPlicit, look at reports and backing schedules if you need to. But you see, I've got also evidence released to Max those attachments in there as well. So if Max wants to see a copy of that invoice before he goes off and approves it, just to remind him to make sure he's comfortable with that, he can see all of that. He can drill into those details if he wants to, see that information, who approved that before I go off and approve that payment run. And then when we make that payment run, that'll turn green, and then we can process that, create you the backs file, faster payments file, whatever it might be that can go off to the bank and be approved. And then the final bit of that is then for that to get posted through to the purchase ledger, and for iPlicit to then send out remittances to those suppliers. So that's all part of that process. And we will attach those documents against the suppliers as well. So when you're looking at your supplier lists and things like that, you can hold those additional documents against the supplier. So it might be a price list, it might be T's and C's, it might be remittances and things like that. So iPlicit can store those additional documents against the transactions, against the supplier records as well. So you've got evidence of when we sent you that remittance, when we sent you that PO, all that type of thing can be stored against the documents. And they're available and visible by any user who's got access to that data. So again, me being a budget holder, maybe if I go into my budgeting, maybe I'm a budget holder and I wanted to be able to view, maybe see where I am against my budgets in a particular area, particular department, particular part of my bit of the organisation. I'm just going to find some that I've got in here. And I've got that ability to drill down into that data, drill into the transactions, see the attachments, see all the information. So that self-service thing is massively important to our finance users, but also our non-finance users in there as well. As is, talking to those non-finance users, one other thing, lots of our customers and prospective customers talk to us about as part of the procurement process, excuse me, is what do you do about expenses? So we've also created, I'll just quickly show you this, and we'll open up the floor for some questions. Lots of our customers will use our expenses area as part of that procurement process as well. So this is our mobile app. So those users can, and the nice thing is this is just included as part of iPlicit as well. So we made expenses just part of our AP processing. It's just really a different document type to us, but it allows those users to be able to go through, allows those users to be able to track mileage, for example. So maybe I've got a 5th of November and I did some mileage today, and having this as part of the same system means that you're not having to pay. One, it means you're not having to pay for an extra expenses system. It also means that the finance team get to track all of these details. It also means that those users, we can scan, and we use that same OCR technology that we use, that same scanning technology that we use in the website. So the devices, it doesn't matter how simple or complex or expensive your mobile phone is, we use the scanning of that document takes place in the cloud. So it doesn't matter on the facility. It's read multiple lines on that document, so I can group them as one or have them all as a particular document. I can then go and assign the type of, that might be a stationary invoice or a petrol invoice, or it might be assigned to my different department. So I can go through and put all those details in, and then I can send that and submit that through our approval workflows. So they're exactly the same approval workflows that happen with inside iPlicit, and the finance team has full and live visibility of all of that as well. Because expenses are just part of iPlicit, they're just part of our purchase ledger essentially. So I can see the latest expenses documents that have come through. I can see and view those attachments, those scans that people have made against those different documents, and I can also see the audit trail that happens. So it might go to line managers and approvals. You can even accrue for expenses that have been submitted at the end of the month and not approved. The same as I can accrue for GRNs and POs as well. Okay, I am conscious I've hit my 45-minute max. Well, you might be pleased to know I hit my 45-minute max. So,
no, that's great, Guy. I was a whirlwind tour of the process without breaking sweat. Very impressive. I was thinking I must take some time to Google what the difference between a Scottish quarter and an English quarter is, to be honest. But I'm sure
we
the
know
Scottish ones are
you
better.
like to be different up there. It is better.
Yeah, we do.
It's far more efficient quarter.
Yeah,
that's what
I'm
it is.
sure it is. I'm sure it is. Okay, listen, thanks very much for that, Guy. Anybody that's got any questions, as I said at the start, please feel free to, because I think you're auto muted. So feel free to kind of populate the chat box. There were a couple that came in earlier that we can cover in the meantime. So one of them is all around an organization that has a third-party PO system. Is it possible to import these orders to allow the invoice matching process to take place in iPlicit?
It definitely is. So we're not precious about our procurement system. You may have operational systems that are already sat in place with iPlicit. When we designed iPlicit, we've designed iPlicit as a pure cloud system. So it's designed from the ground up as a cloud product. So we do have extensive APIs for integration. We could use things like Zapier, for example. There are other third-party tools that will integrate through too. So yes, is the answer to that question. Or we can do simple file imports as well, Max, as well. So we're not precious. And you can also have different document types as well. So you might have, these are our operational POs or GRNs that have come into iPlicit. I want them in here for matching. So I can identify those. But you might have the non-finance, the non-operational PO. So if someone just wants to raise some stationery for the office, that type of thing. So you can still use those in conjunction. So it's not mutually exclusive in any way, shape or form. But yes, we are open to connect. Most of our customers are connecting iPlicit to other systems, whether it's a CRM system or production system or warehousing system and things like that. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
I could have just said yes.
Ideal. No, not nearly as much fun though. Okay, no, that's fine. The other one is going back to the AP automation. You showed the invoices coming in, being read and coming into iPlicit. What would happen if there's a multi-page PDF? Was one of the questions where there's multiple invoices within the same PDF.
Got you. We can handle our AP automation can handle sort of one that happens over 2 or 3 pages, that type of thing, up to a limit I think of about 5 or 6. What we can't do is if you get some suppliers will send you multiple copies of an invoice inside a single PDF. We can only do sort of one scanned document at a time, if that makes sense. Yeah. I can't have a 10-page PDF with 10 invoices on it. We can't split those out, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I probably could have answered the question myself actually, but it's much. You've got a much nicer voice than I have. But just for the attendees on the call, this is a classic example of Escon working really closely with iPlicit as well, because we came across this situation a few weeks ago actually, and we went and spoke to our development team, and literally within 24 hours we'd come up with a little tool that helps the splitting of a multi-page or a multi-invoice PDF into the separate invoices, which would then automatically email them to the email address that Guy mentioned earlier on, and then it'll join the AP automation process from there. So there's always little areas where as a very active partner, I think with iPlicit, Escon can bring real value and enhance the product as well. So coming back again, we could have probably had an easier answer to that question, but the question is yes, it can be done via this little tool that we have. Okay.
Well, that is also a really nice example of us working with our partners like Escon working with us as well. So it's something that we couldn't do inside iPlicit. So you guys turned that around really quickly, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Okay. Right. There's no other questions coming in at this point, as far as I can see. So we'll let you get on with your day. I'd just like to say thank you very much for joining the call. As I said at the start, we've got a series of 3 coming up. We've got one on the 3rd of December that we're looking at the project costing and fixed assets, and then 21st of January. We're going to look at how iPlicit's powerful reporting can revolutionize month-end reporting and month-end for finance teams. So we'll be in touch. You'll see them on LinkedIn. We'll kind of promote those as much as we can. Similar kind of timescale as well in terms of kind of roughly the 45 minutes, which you can have watch over a cup of coffee. So well, thank you very much again. Any questions at all? I think the attendees on the call have our contact details. I know we're going to be in touch very soon with you anyway. So thank you again, and thanks very much to Guy for doing all the heavy lifting. So
thanks for staying with us. It was a pleasure, Max, as always.
Okay, no, that's great. Thanks very much, guys. Okay.